Hello and welcome to Reviews. Consider this kind of a bonus video because it's now like what, 2:15 in the morning. Um, I was actually having some trouble sleeping, and so I was kind of going through the news, and yeah, I saw something interesting. Oh God, I really need to put ad blocker on this computer. Um, Billy Tucci, who is the creator of She, uh, has had death threats made against him. And but although this does not seem to be about like his work, because his character, she is she in this article? Is there a picture of her? No, there's not. I pulled up a couple articles here. She's kind of scantily clad. She's from the 90s, not quite like the overly buxom, bad girl trend that happened in the 90s, but yeah, she's from that period. And but what I find really interesting about this, and well, before I go into that, let's talk about this. Um, Billy tweeted that the FBI visited my home, warning that death threats have been made against my wife and I on Twitter. So go over to his Twitter here, and let's see. Thank you again for all the emails, texts. This is the same person who has said some terrible things about my friend Marcia as well. Again, you are all amazing, and hopefully this will be behind us soon. Be civil to one another. And we go down a little bit. Thank you for all the concern over the death threats made to my family. Just sort of posted it as it's still sinking in. The FBI knows who he is and considered this a serious threat. He tweets out, the FBI visited my home, warning that death threats have been made toward my wife and I on Twitter. Now, it seems that he's not the one that reported it, that the FBI approached him. I don't know, what the procedure is, because we're so used to all these other people from, especially from Gamergate, Zoe Quinn, Brianna literally who that claimed that they had death threats and had to leave their houses. And I think in the case of Brianna, I think it was determined that there was no record of, the police had no record of any threats made against her. I know she was the one who did, said she was moved out of her house for safety, and then did an interview, a video interview, where she was still in the same house. Internet sleuthing pretty much showed she was still in the same room. And maybe it was Zoe Quinn that when the police were asked, they had no police record. But anyway, this looks like the FBI actually came to Billy. And what's interesting in this is that, unfortunately, I went to CBR and Bleeding Cool. What is really interesting about this is it doesn't seem to be about comics. It actually seems to be about his love of hunting, because he says details of threats, the person behind them, and the reasons given have not been made clear. He has recently talked about family and friends warning him about talking about his love of hunting. If you follow this link, it takes, I'm not going to sign into Visage Libre. If you take a look at this, he made a post around Thanksgiving, talk about, those of you who know me know that outside of my family, friends, and career, I have three great passions. The first being hockey, the second being motorcycles, and the third, the one that rises above all the others for the past 20 years, is hunting. Doesn't matter if it's upland bird, well, basically it goes on. I love to hunt. I'm partial to deer hunting with a bow and arrow. I have respect for people that do that. I'm not anti-hunting. I'm just, as long as you don't kill for sport, as long as you eat what you kill, don't let it go to waste. And let me tell you, venison is delicious. But he makes this, he made this post here talking about, experience hunting, and tells a little story here. And we get this picture of him with his kill. So yeah, this one is interesting because the FBI is investigating it, investigating death threats made against him. And even one of these comments and one of these articles even made a comment about Comicsgate, which I'm actually kind of surprised that Bleeding Cool and CBR actually discussed this because Billy is a conservative. Um, he loves hunting. He's I guess you could say he's religious. He's not an atheist, and he is conservative. There's um, a blog I found from Kevin Powers, who has this little section. I highlighted it here, but I've been at conventions where I've been tabled close to Billy, and on more than one occasion. If you've ever met Billy, he's loud, he's opinionated, and he's funny as hell. I've heard plenty of anti-Obama rants coming from him, and I generally disagree with most of his views. But that doesn't change my personal feelings that he's a genuinely good guy and obviously extremely talented. Now, this guy, Kevin Powers, I'm not familiar with him. He seems to have some books here. Um, my cat's jumping around here. Of course she is. But this is fascinating to me because he talk in this little blog I found. He talks about various conservative um, creators, and here he is. He talks about how Billy's a conservative, and he still likes him, still admires him. In today's political culture war, with the NPCs that are pretty much at Marvel and DC, um, you can't have that. If someone is, any farther right from you, then it's Orange Man bad. I'm not going to shout it. It's 2 in the morning. Um, so yeah, this Kevin Powers guy, I don't know him, but I appreciate the fact that he can say, hey, we may not agree on the same views, but I can still respect you. You don't get that in modern day comics. That's what the whole thing right now with Comicsgate is. We just want better comics. We don't want all this political agenda pushing. And anyone that disagrees, any reader that disagrees with the political leanings, they're bad people. They get lumped in as being like women haters and all this other stuff. So I'm fascinated that CBR and Bleeding Cool actually decided to talk about this, and they're short little articles. And yeah, there's some of the people responding to them, and so yeah, they at least seem to be trying to. Oh yeah, here's the picture of she. This is his character he created. She. So yeah, you can see this is pretty much. You would imagine that the NPCs would hate this character. What you can't see is she generally is. She has like a little um, a drapery loincloth type thing. Her legs are bare, stomach's bare. She's showing cleavage. Um, I'm surprised they haven't gotten into her that an Italian American guy is appropriating Japanese culture, that he's abusing women. I'm actually surprised that's not what the death threat is about. But what is interesting is that it looks like the FBI approached Billy. He's not the one that's, he did say the FBI came to his place. Um, but he's not using it as a scapegoat. He seems just as surprised. You don't see him, tweeting that, he's staying in a safe spot and, he's hiding out from home and he moved his family out while things cooled down. I mean, the way this is being treated versus all the other threats that are, comic gators are always supposedly throwing against, the creators. And yeah, they're actually covering a conservative creator. How interesting is that? And I've been looking through this. CBR is a little bit better than Bleeding Cool, but not by much if you've ever gone on their forums. Um, yeah, here's the tweet again. So yeah, that was just, I guess technically 2 days ago. It is, the 31st at this point. I haven't gone to bed yet, so in my mind it's still the 30th. Um, so yeah, he's tweeted about this and that, um, what a serious threat this is. But he's not hiding out. I mean, obviously he's a hunter. If you're gonna make death threats against someone, this is like the worst worst type of person to make a death threat against. They can actually defend themselves, and that's why it seems like he has, actual balls. He's not just going to sit behind his computer and um, whine that Orange Man is bad like the NPCs do. So yeah, he's the one that gets death threats. They're actually covering this, but other than we did see the other creators that did support him. We're not seeing any type of judgment. And I'm still waiting to see if they somehow tie this into Gamersgate. I don't think the story is over yet. This happened on a holiday weekend. Remember, it's now technically it's Monday. It's New Year's Eve. Why do I always hit my keyboard when I'm here? I have a feeling. Oh yeah, let's take a look at these comments here. I get annoyed here. Yeah. Wow. For once, it wasn't Comic Gators. Hey, makes sense. I mean, they'd be all over this terrible comic, wouldn't they? Half-dressed lady with swords? Yeah. You see, there's the judgment right there. Yeah. I've never read She. I remember when She first debuted, like, over 20 years ago. It was in the 90s. And it just never really interested me. I never picked up the comic, but yeah. Way to go in the judgment there, eh, buddy? So, yeah. And here we got some sense here. Remember way back when we didn't like someone or their comic books, we just didn't buy them anymore and told some friends we didn't like them? Remember when this kind of thing used to shock us? Yeah, that's what a lot of people here do. A lot of us on YouTube is when we find these comics that we don't like, we tell people. And what happens? We get labeled as bigots. We get labeled as, every insult, every ist comment that, can be attached. So yeah, this is interesting. I'm waiting to see if today, Monday, if we're going to see some more about this as they try and circle the wagons up and try and come up with some type of I don't know, angle, I guess you could say, some way to tie this back up. And, maybe it's some type of comics gator who made the death threats. But no, it actually seems to be not comics related. It seems to be all evidence pointed to be that he's actually, such an avid hunter. So yeah, I wanted to bring this up. I was fascinated by this because you don't normally hear about the conservative creators being targeted. And why is that? Oh, it's because the conservative creators don't take every single thing as a threat. Every little shit post on the internet, every little insult flung their way, they don't think it's a threat or a death threat. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about this. I just came upon this in my news feed and thought it was really interesting. And, I don't know anything about Billy, but, the things I've read, people are, talking about him glowingly, even people that don't agree with him politically. So yeah, and here's the funny thing. And one last thing. People that don't agree with him politically still like him. Well, what does that tell you? Of what kind of guy he is. He's probably he seems to be a very funny, upstanding guy. So, and he likes hockey. Nothing wrong with that. So, all right, I just wanted to get a quick video out here, even though I just uploaded one. And yeah, there'll be another one probably in the morning, maybe afternoon. So, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.